Good morning, everyone. They tell a story of a fellow who came to the synagogue on Friday for Shabbat services, and he realized he had a $100 bill in his pocket. And of course, you can't handle money on Shabbat. So he's looking for a good place to hide the $100 in the synagogue. And he comes up with an idea. He opens up a chumash to the 10 Commandments, where it says, "Thou shalt not steal." And he puts the $100 bill in that page, thinking if anyone comes across it, they'll see the 10 Commandments, you shall not steal, and they won't take it. After Shabbat is over, Havdalah is made in the synagogue. He runs to the Chumash to open it up to that page, and he's surprised and shocked to see that the $100 bill is gone. Can't believe it. Who would steal when they see the commandment right before them that says, "Thou shalt not steal"? But then as he's flipping through the pages, comes across another page and he sees a $50 bill. And he looks at the page and he sees it's the page that says the commandment from this week's Torah portion, love your neighbor as yourself. The biggest commandment in the Torah is love your neighbor as yourself, the most important commandment. But how can you literally love someone like yourself? Furthermore, it's more problematic when you're dealing with a person who maybe isn't righteous or even wicked. How do you love someone who you vehemently disagree with the way they conduct themselves, the way they act, the injustices that they commit, the harm and the hurt that they cause others? How do you love this person? Is there an exception to certain people that you don't have to love as yourself? And the Alter Rabbi in the book of Tanya says something fascinating. It says even a Jew who's a sinner, even a Jew who's wicked, even a Jew who you completely disapprove of the way they act, yes, you may despise them because you try to talk to them and you can't change them and you can't influence them and you can't possibly love this person because of how they treat others. But at the same time, never forget that they have a godly soul, a divine spark in them. And therefore you have to simultaneously reject them for who they are and what they've done. At the same time, love them for their godly spark and soul that they have inside of them. And have compassion on their soul, their godly soul, the part of God in them that is trapped within this person who is acting in a way that's immoral, unethical, unrighteous, and even wicked. This week, South Florida lost a great leader, Rabbi Shalom Ber-Lipska. He came to South Florida over 40 years ago and started what is now known worldwide as the Shul of Bell Harbor. I remember as a student in 1991, I went to South Florida and spent Shabbat in his community, and all he had was a little storefront in Bell Harbor. Then when I came back with Dini to move to South Florida, he had built a beautiful synagogue on 95th and Collins. And today he's built an entire community, one of the most vibrant, thriving communities, with a synagogue and a school and kosher restaurants and supermarkets and an Eruv and many Jewish institutions. But above and beyond everything he did as a rabbi in his community, he started one of the greatest Jewish organizations called the Aleph Institute, which dedicates itself to Jews behind bars, the forgotten Jews, Jews who may have made terrible mistakes in their lives, and they're incarcerated. Rabbi Lipska said we have to care about these Jews as well. They have a godly soul. We have to provide them religious services, whether it's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur prayer services, or Hanukkah parties, or Purim parties, or Passover Seders. And he built this huge organization that caters to Jews in hundreds of prisons around America, providing them with legal counsel, providing their families with assistance while their loved ones are incarcerated, and helping them become rehabilitated when they leave prison. And he really showed us what it means to love your neighbor as yourself, that no matter what a person does, they still have a part of God in them. And one of the most moving pictures I've ever seen is Rabbi Lipska visiting a prison. And there must have been a particular Jew who was put into solitary confinement in prison. And he's isolated behind this metal door, and all there is a little flap to put his meals in 3 times a day. And Rabbi Lipska communicates with this Jew through a solid metal door, cannot even see him. And he says, would you like to put on tefillin? And you see in this photograph, this Jew sticking his hand out through the little opening in the door for the food. His hand is filled with tattoos, and Rabbi Lipska, this prominent rabbi, with his hat and his jacket, is wrapping tefillin on the arm of this Jew. He can't even see his face. He can't put the tefillin on his head. But with whatever he has, he's trying to connect him to his Jewishness, never forgetting that every single Jew, no matter where they find themselves, physically, spiritually, they always have a godly soul inside of them, and therefore you must always show them love under all circumstances. South Florida was blessed to have such a great leader in our midst. Maybe continue to be inspired by his example, especially in this week's Torah portion, because he showed us that love your neighbor as yourself could be implemented and practiced unconditionally to every single Jew. Have a wonderful day.